Hello everybody, it's Friday night and we, unlike the Premier League, have not been bought by Saudi Arabia, so it must be time for the Weekender once again. We have a jam-packed show this week, stuffed full of Old West, Wild West, Mad West and lunar exploration, so sit back and relax because your weekend starts here. Hello everybody and welcome to the Weekender. I'm joined this week by Ben, Justin and Brother Lloyd.
Swing!
Hello.
He's found his way into this show
released
now
into the Friday night.
So.
He comes bearing the gift of trains.
Can I bleed my trains into this show? Can
I imagine so, yeah.
Well, you really, I think you may have got your quota for the year after last week's Hornby and Warlord getting into bed.
Nah, I placed an order for some new train stuff last night.
but Lloyd,
after Anna went to bed.
But Lloyd, Bolt Action might go 00 gauge.
This is why we need the damn you apes meme edited. Justin, you see
yes. I see why you're asking for it, and everyone else will see exactly what you're talking about later in the show.
Yeah.
Never in a million years. If they ever did anything like that, it would have to go HO, because that's what all the
This sounds like English. It means nothing to me.
It's trainish. That's what it is.
Yeah, so we have a new language, trainish.
Yeah.
It's like using millimeters for scale, except an actual scale that you can scale things off that doesn't vary.
But you can have very detailed diagrams about bridge heights and all that sort of stuff. Which I found more about.
You need to go and check out the Excel.
I wonder, is there possibly an online model engineering degree that Lloyd could go and get?
I think he's already got it, I think.
I'd be sure.
I see him wondering if it's actually a thing.
I doubt it. It's probably in Germany.
I mean, if they'll let you do degrees in David Beckham and the Spice Girls, then you can probably do degrees in model engineering, I imagine.
I did a Spice Girls degree. Wow.
I've no idea, but university was running one in England when they were still a thing.
Oh, I thought that was definitely going to be a Donald Trump University special.
No. Real university who should know better. Anyway, right.
You might get yourself a 2-1, a 2 become 1.
No.
Okay. I appreciate.
So this week, if you haven't been paying attention, we've had an Infinity theme week for Endsong.
Mm-hmm.
See how I drag you back, kicking and screaming to where we're going.
Yes.
This little thing.
Yeah.
We're all here.
If you are an Infinity player, then you probably already have heard about it. If you've missed it, though, we have a whole host of videos over the past 5 days looking at the new book, the new miniatures, and how it will affect all of the factions, even factions who aren't getting new miniatures, Tuha, like anybody in particular. I can't think of anyone, Tuha. It could be anybody. But you can come across to OnTableTop.com. On the homepage, there's a lovely little Infinity Endsong Week banner there, or if you go to their hub, you can keep an eye on everything that's coming and all the stuff we've done in the past as well, where we've talked about them. So it's been an interesting change of things, change of pace, adding a big chunk of extra points to your game, but having them deploying later on for fun and games. So
yes, but now I can be nasty and run Pano with Eugene.
Sure.
I especially liked it when everyone got up in arms about the JSA being part of Yujing again. That was good.
No, they're not a part of Yujing anymore. They're an unaligned army now. They are independent. They have good their independence.
But for one evening, they were back.
for one evening. This.
Yes, I goofed on a cover image. My bad. I apologize.
JSA.
Oh no! Did you see Carlos's Facebook post? The horrendous Yujing JSA cover image has been updated.
That guy's gone too deep.
He just lives in that world. I mean, I love when Carlos comes across. He's one of my favorite guests to have on the show. Especially not just for the fact that he's really funny on camera. He also brings me very nice images that I don't need to process.
That's it. While we're speaking about this, go and smash some comments in, because you can win. You could win a juicy pack by commenting on the week's episodes on the week's videos.
Would you like me to do the prize intro live, Lloyd?
Go ahead, do it. Let's see.
It is Infinity Endsong Week here at OnTableTop.com, and we have 3 copies of Operation Blackwind up for grabs. We're picking 3 winners, one from YouTube, one from OnTableTop.com, and our Cult of Games members get an extra chance to win.
Yeah, but don't comment on this.
No.
Don't comment in the videos.
No, the Endsong Week videos.
Do we have a prize this week?
Nope.
Nope.
I'm pushing everybody towards Endsong. That's how this
infinity goodness, damn.
There are 3 copies of the Code 1 set.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you want to get into Infinity, if you're not already a player, they're a fantastic starter set. So I thought, why muddy the waters?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's Infinity Light.
Gently push everybody over there. Or in this case, just heave you screaming into the pit of Infinity.
Run, lemmings, run off the cliff.
Right. So that's this week. Coming up in the next couple of weeks, we'll also have Doomed theme week from Osprey. We're looking at Chris McDowell's new game of
when you say the next few weeks, what do you mean by that?
Nonsense. I mean it will be coming up in 3 weeks, 7th of August kickoff. He says, desperately trying to work out in his head. Yes. So keep your eye out for that if you fancy a bit of post-apocalyptic sci-fi madness.
Yes, muto-blasting fun.
It was at this point Lloyd realised he had a lot of work to go and do.
I was kind of thinking, as soon as you went, when is it? It was just like, oh, he's looking, do I have... What do you mean theme week? Oh, crap, do I?
They were all planned a long time ago. Read your memos. Put sticky notes on your boards. Right, enough of this. Let's get into the show proper. And it's time to kick off, as always, with the most important part of the week. And that is the indie of the week.
Yay!
And this week's indie is Anakron Miniatures.
Ooh.
What you got?
They have a whole host of things. It's actually a relatively small indie in the grand scheme of things.
So we'll be here a while.
No, we won't. No, that's not how this goes. So the sculptor / designer / one-man show, David Ariel, I think. He's Swiss, lives in France now. Very much influenced by things like Rackham, as you can see from some of his sculpts, and some of the things he has produced is self-taught though. So he wasn't part of the Rackham crew. He's also worked for a ton of other companies, including Demented Games. He's done a lot of stuff for Twisted, bits and pieces like that. So absolute corker of a man. He works in resin, but he's also started offering some 3D bits and pieces of late as well. So some of the figures are available as both physical models and 3-dimensional STLs, as I believe they call them in France. Don't know what they call them here, but so yeah, we only have a couple of pages of actual miniatures. Then there's some busts and some other bits and pieces, but we'll kick things off with having a look at some of the miniatures he's worked on. They are very much in a Rackham style. So if you're looking, for example, the Sons of Oramos, the Celt fat Subu ogre looking fellows, if you don't have 7 of them behind you, like I do, then, you know, if you're looking to have one of those in your games of confrontation,
pick up a Rackham. Yeah.
Nice. We have seen a real resurgence of the Rackham style of sculpting these days.
Yes, it's great.
No, I'm not saying it's bad. I love it. I like it. I want more of it. I do have to wonder, you know, Rackham felt like it was one that was really ahead of its time. And I do wonder if it was like raised from the dead today with something like SEOcast, would it take off? Would it be a competitor? Could it be a contender?
I don't know. A lot of the people who picked up confrontation miniatures picked them up because they were really top notch and absolutely beautiful to play with and paint. I don't know if stepping into SEOcast is the way to go.
They were such a loss when they went the way of the dodo.
Yeah. And not just because all of a sudden a bunch of crazy space apes went away, but they went too far. They Icarus, Daedalus told them not to fly too close to the wind or to the sun, and instead they went, you know what, pre-painted plastics. That's what we'll do.
I remember years ago when we had Romanacross, it would always go, oh yes, I just go down to Ludic's Bazaar and they just have a bin of them. Just like, excuse me, what? Can I come visit?
I still have some that he sent me.
Mm-hmm.
Never painted.
Wow.
On the pile of potential.
Always the time. get into
the Barbarian, named after the code name. Well, not the code name, but the pseudonym that Conan uses when he's a pirate.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Well spotted. You get an internet cookie.
Oh, what was it? I missed it completely.
The name of the Barbarian, Aram.
Yeah. Oh, there.
Rather.
It's sitting right in front of me.
Yes.
He's very cool. Very classic sword and sorcery. I like that.
Yeah.
I love the damage to the shield in there. It's very, very well detailed. I love it.
Yeah. Definitely picked that up off the floor that it was in like an ancient cave somewhere.
I require a shield. There's one. Yeah. I love the Nutcracker. That's just delightful.
I'll go whimsical next.
I think the Nutcracker is a spellcaster in Lloyd's weird little gnome army.
So hang on.
Well, he certainly won't be in any Disney movies. That's for sure.
Hang on, is it a dwarf who screwed up his wild shape?
Yes, he did walnut shape instead.
Yeah.
I mean, it's delightfully insane.
Yeah. That, or it's a dwarf rogue whose stealth is up to par.
Well, you say that, but it can, in many respects, anybody who's seen Troll obviously will have seen them hatch.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
yes.
Maybe this is where dwarves come from. The whole question about why you never see any female dwarves is because they're hatched from nuts.
Or maybe they chuck them in this from a slingshot.
It's the aerial
it's
assault.
Birthing day! Ping!
And bomb back.
Oh, I love him.
It has those sort of little touches that you used to get with the Rackham sculpts, like the angular spiral is particularly noticeable. But at the same time, he also has that sort of Cadwall and medieval city kind of fantasy vibe creeping around the place.
God, I love it.
He feels like just like a Puritan goblinoid creature.
Could be that. If that's how you choose to interpret and run with him, then that could be the...
He's got a dagger for enforcing the faith. There you go.
The whole start of the cult right there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's got the shepherd's crook to draw them in, and then the knife to go, do you believe? Yes, you believe. Do you believe? Yes.
That is a good goblin nose. I like that.
What are we looking at here? Is this a resin then?
These are resins, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll take a wee scroll to the 3Ds in a moment.
Good Beastman.
See, I never even thought Beastman. I automatically default to some sort of Minotaur type. No.
Don't you mean Minotaur?
No.
I mean, I would have thought it was a little too humanoid to be a Minotaur.
What are you talking about? That's what they look like. Have you not seen? Oh, what is it?
Time Bandits.
Yeah, Time Bandits. Oh, we're not allowed to talk about that movie anymore. There's too many dwarves in
it.
Harsh.
God bless you, Lord.
It's been cancelled.
Ooh.
And then Cat Warrior.
Yeah. Very
that
nice.
Sort of blend of medieval fantasy, kind of in the style of the clothing.
Yeah. But it's also the fact that the anthropomorphism is like ultra humanized. Very different to what you see in some other sculptors' styles.
With the way the sculpt is around the mouth, you could just go ahead and paint that as a mask.
Yeah, actually, that's true. Yeah.
It's basically
send it on its way.
It's basically Avatar, really.
No, it's something I like about the style is they take anthropomorphic animals and make them even more human than what you would normally see. You know, so they're less bestial, more like full-on Skyrim human. Yeah. It's like more full-on like Skyrim style.
More like a Khajiit. Yeah. Turak the Barbarian. I don't know what the link that has to perhaps to.
Why the Halloween doll?
Captain Ulrich is pretty cool.
Well, we'll get to those. Captain Ulrich is absolutely corker. Just a nice standard fantasy human about to lay into somebody.
Good leader of the town guard, I reckon.
I mean, for me, I would love to just have him leading a warband in a small skirmish game.
Yeah, definitely. I like
perfect mercenary commander.
The strap is attached to the scabbard there as well. That's really cool. Sheath. Yeah. Very cool.
Where he lamps you around the head with the scabbard and then stabs you with the sword.
Who knows what's in there? Could be a goblin, could be mechanical, could be anything.
Could be just a robot without a heart.
Has a very
three gnomes.
Very big Brian Froud sort of influence there.
Yeah. Especially on that kind of the helmet grill.
Yeah, and the body proportions being all odd. You could see this running around trying to poke Sir Didymus up the backside.
Labyrinth. There's a lot of small people in that. We can't talk about that anymore.
Can't talk about that anymore.
Most of them are puppets, Lloyd.
Well, Lloyd, this one's only 22 millimeters tall, so
well, isn't that the whole point? The outrage over you can't have dwarves, and they're like, hold on, don't you know they're mythical beasts?
Yeah.
Well, they're not beasts.
Lee Guide.
And Lloyd himself was cancelled this time.
Well, hang on. At least he's not going to dox himself on this one.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
The day is still young. But yes, you can see.
Very cool.
There's a whole host of
like old barbarian,
classic style fantasy, and then some a bit more peculiar or aligned to the sort of the Rackham way.
Mm-hmm.
What size is this guy?
All the muscles. What size is he?
Probably Jerry's size. If Jerry worked out, that's exactly 35. What Jerry would look like.
Jerry's not working out.
Well, I'm wondering, because if I could get this as an STL, I'd be very tempted to blow him up and have him as a giant.
That would actually work quite nicely, actually, yeah. But,
I looked that up. The correct pronunciation of STL is Jeff, by the way.
Your name is Jeff.
Then we have these creepy things.
It is a small child.
I'm not saying it's going to murder you in your sleep, but I wouldn't go to sleep.
Going to murder you.
Did you see that Chucky doll that someone tied to a shopping cart and dumped in a river?
No,
it was well creepy when the police found it. This Chucky doll in the river.
Oh god!
But you have to ask, how did it get there? Because it wasn't just somebody decided I'm going to chuck one in there. I imagine that it was the only way after being chased by Chucky to a closed shop in the middle of the night.
Well, water breaks the magical power, so throwing him in there means that he can't, come back.
I imagine it's a sibling who didn't like that their other sibling had the Chucky doll and was scared of the Chucky doll, and then had to get rid of the Chucky doll by making a prison for the Chucky doll.
Yeah,
this is great. You guys turn into a load of school teachers that just get derailed all the time.
Yes,
because you're here, Lloyd. You are the agent of chaos.
This is cool.
The two little weird rag dolls. They're very. I mean, that one's slightly more human, wearing a mask, but that one is classic. Mid-Nor were just forever had weird rag dolls all over the place that were generally animated and wheeling wheelbarrows full of dead people around. Fun. So those are the physical miniatures.
Mm-hmm.
There are the 3D figures
though
as well. So a couple of the busts and then a couple of the more recent figures.
Yeah. So are they just dipping their toe into the 3D side of things?
Yeah, I only started, I want to say it was last November. I think they first sort of appeared.
The ogres are a good choice for this because then you can scale them up to be even bigger.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm very curious to see what the final output from this is, to see if it's something they're dipping their toe into. Are they pre-supported? Are they easy to run through your machines? And how do they actually fit together whenever the breakdown's done?
Well, there's only one way to find out.
Yeah, there is. Unfortunately, my missus didn't give me my pocket money.
Here, they're really good priced, actually, at €5.
Yeah.
A lot of people
for a big ogre. Yeah.
A lot of people stick astronomical prices on their STLs, even though you're going to do the printing.
See, here's the thing. You can say it's only an STL, but you're paying for the person's artwork, their time and care in actually creating the thing. So I don't mind paying a bit more for STLs.
No, I like to pay a bit less because you're still not paying for the casting and the postage.
Lloyd is cheap.
No,
Lloyd's got a point though. If that is €12 in resin, and that's the material cost and all.
Okay.
Then what? Resin's not cheap. Resin's relatively expensive. You get like 500 grams for about £20.
Yeah, but I mean, you'll generally do a litre for about 25, maybe.
You got your electricity to take into account as well.
Oh, I'm not talking about your 3D printed ones. I'm talking about actual physical resin.
Oh, his electricity, his time.
Yeah, I get that. But again, it's what value does the sculptor place on their artistic creation at that point. You can grab a wallpaper for free offline and, someone has put time and effort into it. So whenever someone comes to actually get a custom commission piece, they think, it should just be free.
Well,
and I hate it when that happens.
They used to put time and effort into it. Now we have AI.
Now we have Warren.
That is very true.
Yeah, well.
There's a whole host of little
different kind of worms,
bits and pieces in the way of scenery as well. So
I like those
little confrontation-esque pillars.
Especially like if you're diving into the stuff that community's working on at the moment for confrontation and want to make a themed table or have themed objectives and things, this is a great little idea to go and pick up some of this stuff.
Even adding these as bits and pieces to base.
I love little base fillers like that. Right. Just something to make it not just a flat grass top. Oh yes, all of this, all of the yes.
I like his little sacks.
That sack's all emptying all over the place.
Yeah. Spilling out.
Is that seed that's coming out of it?
It does appear to be seed or grain, yes.
And
although it could,
out of one.
I mean, theoretically, it could be gold dust if it was like
gold
panning for gold.
Yeah.
It could be like Santa Claus the movie.
Yes. Look, 3 tickles. Here you can see an example of 3 tickles.
3 tickles.
Good stuff.
Look at that plinth on that.
Well,
but at least they did something.
That
will
be coming up. Don't worry, Lloyd. We'll get there. So apart from the scenery section with your little dent bones and
I love the little models
as well, which is nice.
Bits of bobs.
Cool.
Yeah.
If we go back to 3D figures, there's also a couple in here. So they have a couple of laboratory doors.
There's the dumbbells again.
Another set of columns as well. So, you can...
How cool would it be if you could get weights that looked like that in that style?
Right, the columns.
Just working out, lifting columns, literally feeling like Hercules.
We need a montage of Lloyd working out, like 80s style. with all the spandex.
You'll have to look long and far for that.
or Lloyd, we just have to get you very, very drunk.
That's true.
This works. See, big brain.
I mean, that is an impressive bit of kit.
That's really nice, yeah.
Now, that's the sort of shop side of things. There is another side of things, though, which is his little bloggy part, which contains a few bits and pieces that I thought I'd bring to people's attention. So he does have downloads in here, including some free 3D prints.
Ooh.
So rack and bases, some objective tokens,
mushroom house,
a mushroom house, and another type of column based on what looks like the Griffin columns.
Ooh!
In fact, yeah, because there's the Griffin Inquisitor. Got it. It's really nice.
That is a cool model.
So yes, if you want to try some of his earlier 3D printing type things for free / gratis, you can see exactly how they come. Then you could go in here and give it a go.
See, what I would do with those columns, I would actually cope them onto their back with the symbol facing up the way, sink them through the bed. That way you've got a nice flat back to it. And then you can actually start sticking them onto walls of terrain sections you already have to start theming them.
Oh, yeah, that'd be a good idea.
Yeah. Why not? That's the whole point of 3D, isn't it? To change things. Mix it up.
Well, no, it's if you know one or two of the tiny little tricks that you can do, you can actually really refactor some of the stuff that you pick up.
I like the tokens as well, actually.
The mushroom house is really cute.
The mushroom house
from Moonstone.
Nice. You can make little shields, Lloyd.
Shield.
I like that you've got a clean and a battered version.
Depending on who's been getting battered around.
Choose those as shields too.
Yeah,
you could. Or just coinage.
But also in here,
you could use them as like activation tokens, so you could paint one with like a green and one with a red, so you could have them as see which hasn't and hasn't activated.
Yeah,
I imagine
you don't need tokens to see who hasn't activated.
I do, because I forget.
He also has a variety of little tips, tricks, and tutorials. Cool. Some are video based. Some of the older ones are just photo galleries and text sort of thing. So, I mean, some very basic stuff from the very sort of brief how to sculpt a mushroom type of thing to how to set up a light box, all the way through to things like protecting the.
Are these on YouTube or what?
These things, I believe so. Yes,
that looks like a YouTube button.
Yeah. So
they've survived from all the way back in the dark past of 2008.
Yep.
2007, I see.
So there's a little bunch of do-it-yourself articles and stuff like that.
Nice.
Not so much in the video blog show, a couple of ones from years ago, and I think they're in French. But the freestyle session has a really nice tentacle sculpting thing, which is just half hour long, showing you how he sculpted one of those 3D gulls from the website. So you too can do, if you can be bothered yourself, and I can sometimes be bothered, but not often. It depends how I'm feeling on any given day of the week. So this doesn't get updated as much as I would want it to, because I would want it like daily, but kind of everything. But he does pop in things like when he's working on a new sculpt, it'll appear here in the news. So the sort of things at the end of last year, the last bust and ogre went in there.
Very nice.
But yeah, there's some nice, interesting bits and pieces in there. He also has a list of reference books and stuff for sculpting if you're planning on getting into it. And in the download section, you can download a page of dolly frames. So when you're making your own dollies for different scales, you can sort of do it. So
this is the attention to detail that I appreciate from sculptors. Actually learning anatomy. I just can't be arsed with anatomy. But
yeah. Oh yeah.
It's for really getting stuck into that.
Well, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, whoever did the Minotaurs in plastic for GW couldn't be bothered learning anatomy either.
There's always
if there was room, just squeeze another muscle in.
Do we need to mention how does a Space Marine fit inside his armor?
No, nobody does. Working the principle that Space Marines are mostly soup, or that it's sort of, or that the armor is very flexible. One or the other.
That's or their hips just dislocate.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not
on command.
All of their joints. Nothing's getting inside that armor. But yeah, an interesting little site. Like I say, David does some really, really nice sculpts, and it's interesting to see him branching out into the 3D print for other people, not for me. I'll just go ahead and buy your real, actual physical things. Thank you very much.
I bet there'll be a Patreon up for that in the future.
It's not beyond the realms of possibility. It depends when he has the time to fit it in and around his other projects.
As Jerry says this, the announcement comes out, I'm going full digital.
No, I don't think so, because he's like very much, if I'm paying for service, I want you to do the work.
Yeah, I know.
100%. But anyway, so there you go. Anakron miniatures, if you fancy a bit of fantasy fun, or even if you just fancy getting into sculpting as well, then definitely check out the blog side of that. There's lots of little tips and tricks, including things like how to make your own sculpting tools if you're just starting out, some of the bits and pieces he uses and how he fashioned them. So yes, there we go. I think that's enough for Nindy. Let's move on to the news.
Coming to you from the center of Northwestern Europe. Covering board games, war games, card games, and all that you love. It's the news.
Okay, we're kicking off the news with a bit of Team Yankee.
Oh, yes.
And some hurdy-burdy, squirty-burdy, cheeky.
Some Scandinavian stuff.
Hang on, Jerry. You've been learning Scandinavian. Surely you can intro this in the native tongue.
Nope.
I tried, folks. No, that's Sheffies.
Watching Sesame Street doesn't count.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
You know, you can actually convert your language to Sheffies in Google.
Wow. There we go.
Sorry, random brainwave.
Didn't know, but yeah. Maybe it's like Klingon subtitles. We'll be able to get that on the bottom of this YouTube video. I don't know.
Sheffies? Why would anyone want to sound like they're from Sheffield? I don't get it.
Makes no sense to me. That's why I stick with Bing.
Yeah, or it's all just Gordon Ramsay, so it's just constant swearing. But anyway, so pre-orders are now live for those folks who want to dive in and pick up the new stuff for World War III Team Yankee / Nordic Forces, which is the new set of releases that are coming out from Battlefront Miniatures for their Cold War Gone Hot war game. Obviously, we've been covering this over the last couple of weeks. We've done a really neat little kind of first look video. We've done some painting, and we did like a list video as well this week as well. So you can dive in and see what the guys think about building awesome army lists for the different nations that you get to play as in this. So you've got the Swedish, the Danish, the Norwegians, and the Finns fighting it out. The pre-orders at the moment are going to be sort of carrying on from the end of July through August and into September. You'll be able to get yourself that new Nordic Forces book, and also this, which is the Swedish S-Tank Company Starter Force, which comes with 8 S-Tanks. John will be happy. You get 3 RBS Jeeps, because that's how I read that word, and then 2 HKP-9 helicopters, which is pretty awesome as well.
You get a lot of stanks in that box.
Yeah.
Yay! I was trying to think what they'd be called, but you beat me to it.
No, Jerry was resisting last week, so I kind of stole that one.
I got hung I got hung up on swanks and then couldn't get off it again.
Swanks.
Well, they are some swanky, stanky tanks.
They are swanky, stanky tanks. There we go. But yeah, so that's the starter force that will get you going as the Swedish. But it's not just them that are getting covered. We've got loads of other vehicles coming out as well over the next little while. You've got things like you can add even more S-tanks into the mix with the platoon there. There's also the Centurion tank platoon as well. Which can be used by the Swedish and the Danish, as you can see. Very, very nice. Love a good Centurion. But you've also got things like the Band Cannon 1, howitzer batteries as well. So if you want to rain down artillery on the battlefield, you can indeed do so. And then there's even some flyers in the mix too. So you've got the AJ-37 Vegan Attack Group as well that you can drop into the mix, which are some lovely looking jets for you to use during this sort of Cold War era. Very nice indeed.
I like this introduction of these other countries. It makes the lineup of stuff you can use far more interesting.
Yeah.
Well, the interesting thing is, talking to Shay and John, it feels like these forces are actually built to be like a secondary detachment into your main force, but you can run them on their own. So you could get some really interesting combinations with the other NATO forces.
What time period is this in the 80s? Is it in the 80s? This is
mid-80s, so it's at 84, 85 kicks off.
84, 85.
Before me.
Okay, I just need to know so I can go and look up what model trains would suit 84.
Anyway, so that is by no means everything that's available to pre-order for Nordic forces. There's loads more stuff. You can get all of it over on store.ontabletop.com. We've got pre-orders for pretty much everything that's coming out.
Swing!
Which is very, very nice. So
there's no bloody trains, though.
No trains. No trains.
Well, hang on, Lloyd. You know, now that we stock Warlord.
Yeah,
we have an account with Warlord, which means we might be able to bring in some Hornby for you.
I don't think it's going to work that way.
Things generally go the other way when somebody subsumes.
Yeah.
If people are interested in seeing some of the new plastic kits up close and personal, next week there should be a bit of an unboxing with myself and John looking at the S-Tank, the Centurion, and a Marksman ACAC for the Finns.
Very cool.
So, yes. I think those will be out midweek next week. So you'll be having a look over those.
Then the full release is the end of July 29th. So you'll be able to look out for that and dive in and have some fun. As you were saying there, Lloyd, I think this is great because you're covering loads of different theatres of war now with Team Yankee. You've got the fighting on the sort of eastern front between the NATO forces and the Warsaw Pact. You've got all the stuff happening in the north now across Scandinavia. And then you've also got all the Red Dawn things that they did last year as well. So you can fight over in America with the Soviet invasion there too. It's a proper world war. So yeah.
I have but one question. Where are my Israelis? Give me my Israelis. I want my Merkavas.
They're in the Middle East. I don't think they moved.
Thanks, Jerry. Thanks, Jerry.
You're welcome.
You wouldn't want Israelis, so they just drop nuclear bombs by mistake off their airplanes. It'd be crap.
No, it's the Americans
they have. Is it the I thought it was the Israelis who lost
at least a couple of nukes over the years.
America dropped at least one on their own country.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they had
was primed and didn't go off because it was faulty. That would have been a whole other story. But
Yeah. And they also had a nuclear meltdown that was nearly as bad as Chernobyl. Was that 3 Mile Island?
3 Mile Island, yeah.
God.
So, yeah.
But you too can play out these weird moments in history.
1984. You can get Wonder Woman into this then.
Yes. That is correct.
Lloyd, why is that base so bright and wonderful and beautiful? That's the Avengers.
I need a 15 mil Wonder Woman.
Avengers aren't connected to Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
Don't cross the streams. Avengers.
Fine, it's the Justice League. Pedantic jackass.
Pedantic? It's like comparing oranges and apples.
It's like comparing
Shut up, Mr. Trains. Shut up, Mr. Trains.
Anyway, sticking with trains.
It's like saying to Luke, beam me up, Scotty. I mean, what the heck?
We've got one like that later on the show, Lloyd. You're going to love it.
Yeah. Anyway, so yes, as you were saying, Jerry, sticking with trains in a different sense, but going to a different frontier as we head to the Wild West with a new game that's coming out from the newest edition of Blaster Mag, which is a fantastic magazine in its own right. But this is called Dead by Lead, and this is a new game which is 28 mil. Plays with a handful of miniatures per side, probably between like 6 and 12, I believe, for this one. You'll need a handful of D6, some D12s, and a deck of playing cards. And it's been designed as a full-on scenario-driven, narrative, campaign-based Wild West game, where you'll be able to dive in and sort of take your gang of hoodlums or your lawmen from sort of being people on the frontiers sort of scraping a living to full-on Legends of the Old West, which I think is pretty awesome. That's also a different game. But yeah, so there's a really neat little how-to-play video which sort of goes through the different mechanics. It's got a very... like me and Jerry were discussing, it's a very in-depth system of rules with lots of sort of interesting sort of nuances to it as well. So the main thrust of the gameplay is driven by D12s, so you roll D12s, but then the deck of cards is used to determine the target number that you're looking for. So you flip over cards depending on the cover that your opponent might be in and that kind of thing. And then you roll a D12, add your bonuses to it, and you're trying to beat that number. But then on top of that, when you do hit people, you roll a d6 to see which location they've been shot in, and that can determine like leg wounds where it'll be harder for you to walk from cover to cover, or maybe it'll sort of ruin your aim or something, or maybe you'll just get shot in the chest. It'll be like a full-on he's out of here kind of thing, dying with his boots on. But yeah, some really nice.
Shoot them in the nuts.
I don't think there's a Sniper Elite style nut shot. No. But yeah, so it looks like a really fun little Wild West game as part of Blaster Mag. As I say, I think one of the core things of this is that they've tried to make it very narrative and campaign based. So there's lots of things for sort of like taking your characters through different scenarios and playing out full on stories with this one. It'll be very interesting to see how it takes off and stuff as well. But it seems definitely interesting. And for a lot of people who are liking Wild West wargaming at the moment, it's nice to have another game out there for you to try. And Blaster Mag normally have some really fun little indie stuff in their collection. So
this table layout is ridiculous though.
What?
It's not. What? It's the Wild West and you don't have a train? What the heck?
Well, yes.
I mean, the one question I have is, can I lay my hands on that delightful cattle corral dice tray?
Well, the train is actually from a particular... I can't remember exactly what company it's from, but they do mention somewhere where it comes... What was it? Sorry?
Things from the Basement did the
Things from the Basement. There we go. Jerry
I don't know if they did the Dead by Lead movement tray for them as well, but the buildings are from Things. There is actually a set of miniatures as well.
There is, yeah.
Sculpted.
So Skullforge Studio this month, on top of what they're normally releasing for their Patreon, have released some 28mm gunfighters. So they've done 6 of these, so you can play with like 3 aside and just sort of get started with a kind of quick intro game, which I think is quite nice. We might see some more stuff from Skullforge in the future, but it's just nice to see that the release of the game through the magazine was supported by a set of 3D printable files. But you can use 28mm miniatures from anywhere, really. So if you want to dive into some of the stuff from Great Escape Games or Black Scorpion, for example.
Yeah. Honestly, my temptation is to see if I can find some like fantasy orc cowboys.
They're probably out there somewhere.
Run them in the game.
The interesting thing for me is...
Can we not just have cowboy game for 10 seconds?
You had it for 10 seconds.
Well, you don't said you can have it. Don't worry, Lloyd. Nobody will take the cowboys away from us.
Interestingly, Knuckle Duster do fantasy cowboys. So there you go. So,
they do. Yeah. But Blaster, they were saying specifically, because there are fantasy cowboy games out there, that they want to do just a straight cowboy game.
Oh,
without any fantasy.
I apologize to the company then. My apologies.
A couple of things about it. The Blaster Mag just seems to feature Dead by Lead. I wonder if there's other articles in it, or is this issue just...
I think it's literally just the rules for that game.
It's a full rule set in a magazine, essentially. That's interesting.
The folks who are helping them publish it now, Electi, have done like a roadmap of what's coming up as well. Okay. So there's some new games coming out from, I think it's Andy Chambers and Gav Thorpe have been working on a couple of games as well.
CO Genesis.
Yeah, so there's going to be some fun stuff coming down the line. They are nice, big, lovely, glossy mags. Yeah. So if you're someone who loves that kind of indie corner of our wargaming world, definitely go and check out Blaster Mag.
It's interesting because it is really hitting that FOMO problem, because it's coming out as a magazine. Once that edition is done and gone, you're going to struggle to actually find it again, maybe.
I reckon they'll put the rules up online somewhere for you to buy them through drive-thru, I would guess. But
Blaster's available through drive-thru anyway.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Sorry, it was just something that occurred to me, because it was magazine format, it might cause that issue. But I guess no.
Yeah, you never know.
So look out for
it. I don't know whether or not they do print on demand. Don't say that. How very dare you?
You have just offended Jerry and all of his ancestors.
Egon will be right one day. One of these days he'll be right.
He may well be. But yeah, I'd be interested to see the actual full rules, because the intro game is only about 10 minutes long. it's interesting. It has a touch of the Gunfighter's Ball in that there's all the hit locations and bits and pieces like that. It's not as in-depth as that, but there's still a fair amount of bookkeeping to do.
Lots of marking of like ammo counters,
ammo count, wound, where you've been wounded, how many times you've been wounded, because you've got a grit level that counts as your total wounds, so you can take multiple little shots before you get killed up completely. So there's that going on, which I'm not. Depending on the game, it can work well or it can be tedious. I think it's probably the best way to put it. Just having to do all the bookkeeping if you're doing lots and lots of characters. Works for gunfighters because gunfighters is generally you're only looking after one, maybe two characters in a table full of people. So it's not as onerous a task to track all of that. But I do like things like the deck of playing cards. You flip two, and then depending on what the cover is, you either choose the lowest or highest card as being the value that you have to aim for. So you've always got that sliding scale of target number. But then on top of that, you've still got all the modifiers that you would expect in a game where you didn't have a sliding scale of target number. So
the thing that's interesting with that as well is that you get that kind of unlucky/lucky thing where someone's hiding behind like an outhouse, and you should be taking the higher value, but you flip like a 4 and a 5, so it's like you've hit them just through the little gap in the thing, which I think is very cool.
The little moon.
The little moon thing in the door. Yeah.
No, you see, you aim low, you put it through the bucket. That way, whenever the bullet goes into their leg, they get sepsis and die of gangrene.
Wow. No. You shoot the base of the outhouse, and that scares all the spiders up, and then they bite them on the bum.
Well,
that's what happens.
That is the worst moment to start a gunfight, when you're on the loo.
That's it. When you sit on those flipping cowboy bogs, like your stuff dangles, and then the Black Widows can get you.
Isn't that just Australia in general?
Yeah.
I will say most of the Old West did happen in America. All of it, to be fair. Well, a lot of the Old West did happen in America. Quickly, obviously went down under from that famous documentary. But when you're talking about sepsis, there is a narrative campaign in the rules as well. So, so you'll have things like that. So tracking,
you carry through wounds and all sorts of things.
Tracking damage and, limping along with your busted kneecap, losing an arm like Virgil, that type of thing.
So you can have your epic last stand moment where you're like bullet holes here and you charge out and you shoot with your left hand because your right hand screwed up.
I kind of want to use this for like a recreation of Hatfields and McCoys. Could be fun.
There you go. You could easily do it.
All about the fun, the feuding.
Yeah.
Sticking with historical.
Yeah.
But moving west away from the Old West.
Yeah. So we've got a new, very cool modular castle coming from the folks at Empires at War. So if you're playing out medieval games and when you get your hands on a very nice castle set, you can pick this one up from those folks at the moment. So it's a big MDF kit, as you can see. You can either get it as a starter castle, which is a tiny one for an Englishman, or you can buy a massive one, which is for a rampaging king who's trying to take over the Holy Land. As I say, it's been designed as a Western style castle, so it's Western European, and there are certain elements that are very tied to it being a European castle. But then you can also take it and use it as a modular Crusader style castle as well. So you can have it on the frontiers of the Holy Land, being attacked by the Arab forces and all sorts of different things like that. Each of the different components can be bought separately, or you can buy, as I say, like a kit. So if you want more wall sections, you can just buy them. If you want different towers, you can get those. You've got all the stair sections, you've got the keep and everything as well in between that too. It's also been designed in a really nice way for wargaming. So it has big, thick, long walls sections. So you can actually have lots of troops up on there. The stairs have been designed so you can actually have characters moving up and down them as well. Everything else you see in the background is also available from Empires at War. So if you want things like the siege towers and the mantlets and stuff, and even the siege weaponry at the back as well, you can pick those
very
up.
bucket way at the back, Lloyd. Look at the trebuchet.
Hey! If you buy this, you can fart in people's general direction.
Yes, you do this.
I would really love to see someone take an MDF kit but design it with a CNC machine where it's an engraver, and then take that sheet that's been flat engraved and then laser cut it to give you some really amazing detail for like brickwork and stuff on this kind of thing.
That could be cool. Yeah, it would make it an interesting.
It's a piece of technology I've never seen actually applied to our hobby.
What, CNC machines?
Well, for something like this,
probably because of the cost.
Probably. But yeah,
not cheap.
Surely someone has a friend.
I really like this kit as like a starter option for people to dive into, because it's not that badly priced in terms of, well, you know, a massive piece of terrain that you know be using your games, and sieges and sort of medieval warfare and that kind of thing is something that everybody wants to play at some point. And so being able to pick up a really fun little castle like this thing is really cool. It's particularly good if you're doing something like Outremer or something like that, and you're diving into the Barons War and playing around with that kind of game at the moment. Maybe picking up one of these would be a really fun way to take your campaigns and things. But definitely
I don't like that scenario. That's really limited where you can attack that castle from.
I would assume it's a historical thing or something.
Yeah, it's kind of like Jerry's Rock's Drift, because you know that's asymmetric.
Yeah, but you're getting attacked from all bloody angles.
Yeah. Whereas here, there's very much a massive castle built on top of a huge butte.
Clearly, whoever built that castle was a great
proper tactics,
and you're only getting across there. Yeah, but in reality, by this stage, Lloyd, you'll have besieged and starved them for 7 or 8 months. So all that's left are some half-starved people on the walls.
Yeah, and there might be
they're
some
not going to offer much.
There'll be no cows or giant rabbits left to throw out.
Yeah. Oh, they'll have eaten all of those.
All the dogs and all the cats, all gone. All to soup.
Yeah. And once they've all been eaten, then that's the time to attack.
You'll be throwing dwarves in walnuts next.
I suppose you could try the whole bunny trick.
Yes.
But it only works if you remember to climb into it.
Oh, man. You know what the annoying part is?
The Trojan bunny.
I have one up there. It's too far away to reach. Trojan rabbit and a Trojan badger.
Right. Sticking with historical stuff, we're going to be moving over to see what Plastic Soldier Company have been working on. So they have set up an agreement with Excellent Miniatures, which is a great company over in Europe, to bring a range of their 3D printable STL miniatures.
You mean GIFs?
GIFs, yeah. To everybody else, but in 3D printed resin. So the first of the companies that they're actually going to be working with is Cromarty Forge, who a lot of people will know for doing amazing work across fantasy and historical in many different periods. But for anyone who's diving into playing something like Mortem Glorium, for example, you might be very tempted by this, because they are doing a whole slew of ancient warriors in this new 3D printed resin stuff, taking those files and basically making it available as physical products for everybody. So they've started off with the late Romans. That was towards the end of last week when we were looking at this. But over the next couple of weeks, they're going to be doing additional Roman releases. So we're going to be seeing stuff for the mid-Republican Romans, the early Imperial Romans, so many time periods of Romans.
Yes.
It's almost like they had a massive empire that lasted forever. They're also
everybody thinks of just the same Roman every time they think Roman.
True. They're also going to be releasing a whole host of Rome's enemies as well. So you're going to be able to get your hands on Gauls, on Britons, the Germanic tribes, and the Numidians as well, which could obviously be used as auxiliaries in your army too, if you really wanted to, as well as all the rest of those troops, because all of them were auxiliaries at some point or another. Sort of, you can stay here, but as long as you buy for us. But yeah,
if I can get Asterix and Obelix, I'll be happy.
Yeah. They've also, as you can see there in one of the images, they've done separate packs. So you can go pick up command sets, you can pick up units of infantry, you can pick up archers, you can pick up cavalry. They've also done nice starter army bundles. So if you want to get your hands on stuff like that, which will give you essentially everything you'd ever want to play with at a lower points cost, then you've got everything there.
Like 2
big regiments of spearmen, loads of cavalry there.
It hasn't got a bolt thrower.
You need a scorpion in there. Is that what you want?
That's what I want.
Maybe they'll make one for you. I don't know.
Well, you said I had everything you'd ever want. No.
No, is it a scorpion or a ballista?
Unless you're Lloyd. There we go. So.
No, is it a scorpion or ballista you want? Scorpion's the little one.
I want the scorpion.
Okay. The little one. Ballista. And then you got an onager.
A ballista.
So, do you want an onager as well?
Oh, yeah, that too.
There we go.
How about your trebuchet? Or would they have those?
A trebuchet. Yeah.
They wouldn't have had it very bucket.
Didn't they have
They had catapults. An onager was essentially
kicking mule.
Kicking mule, yeah.
Now,
but yeah. So loads of stuff there.
Got it on their site. I know you can see there that they've got 2 different sets of shields on those. Shields are all available separately.
Yes.
Oh, don't tell Lloyd that.
So I think they have quite a robust range
array of shields.
Shields as well, so you can theme it to specific ones or have certain shield designs for certain units, just to make life more simple for identification.
I haven't seen this yin yang looking shield before.
It's just there on the right, Lloyd.
Yeah, well, I see it now.
I was going to ask about that, but I didn't want to sound stupid.
Well, I just wait on
that ever happens. Like that ever happens.
Don't worry. Every shield that is available with Cromarty's Forge, they're all researched. They haven't just made up something wacky for their own personal amusement. So there will be variations or representations of them somewhere in there.
So if anyone's interested and they want to know about the material these are going to be printed in, it's apparently going to be printed in Amera Labs TGM7 resin, which is meant to be designed for wargaming miniatures specifically. So there we go. Cool. If that means anything to you, fantastic.
It means nothing to me, Vienna. I was surprised to see it though, because obviously they've been working in SEOcast and they've brought Zeist and the old Corvus Belli range through from Scotia Grendel and Lurkio's own range. They've all been brought in SEOcast, so I assumed whenever I heard that they were buddying up to do other stuff that they would stick with that. So it'll be fascinating to see how the 3D print goes, because obviously compared to the speed of production for SEOcast, it's much more time intensive to actually get a force put out there. So you start to see bottlenecks.
From what I heard, I think that the partnership with Excellent Miniatures is probably where they've gone with that particular brand of resin, because they've been doing it for a while now. So I'd assume they're going to be working with something that's specifically designed to make those miniatures look very nice.
Oh yeah, it's not the final quality. It's just you could
time.
It's the time it will take to punch it out. So if several people order an army, is there going to be a big delay in production?
I should say that they're available. They're going to be available in the EU and in the UK now. So it's like EU, you'll get them from Excellent. If you buy them in the UK, you'll get them from Plastic Soldier. So nice and easy way for people to get them, whichever side of the channel you're on.
What about the Americas?
Yeah,
they can take their voice.
Well, the Romans never got as far as America, so that's sort of doesn't matter.
No, they can stick to the Wild West. Right. Speaking of America and the only people that set foot on the lunar surface, Blacksite.
Yeah, so Blacksite Studios, we've talked about them before, as they do a huge range of different, very small style skirmish games, like Don't Look Back and stuff like that. But they also do a very neat moon-based, see what I did there, game called Lunar, which is getting a revamp, and the revamp is now available at this very moment. It actually happened on Thursday, so you can go get it now. So they've done a new starter set for this Cold War-esque style game, where you'll be able to play as the USA, the USSR, or the Republic of China, as you are settling on the moon with your colonists, and you are looking to stake a claim on a new frontier. So they have designed a whole rake of new, updated 32mm miniatures in resin for you to use for the different factions, and you'll be diving into games that are playing out on a very small 2x2 scale table, 2x2 foot scale table. So just lovely little thing to put on your coffee table there. And the starter set itself comes with the Soviets or the USA. You also get all of the cards and all of the tokens and everything else that you need in order to play the game. I've seen a couple of these games getting played, and they're very different from your kind of like normal skirmish game, as you would imagine from Blacksite, because you're running around in 0G, sort of jumping around and sort of trying to like knock minerals out of moon rocks, whilst also getting your hammer ready to smash at someone around the face. So you break their helmet and they go flying off, and like oxygen leaking everywhere as well. So it's a very weird and unique game, which I think is fantastic and very much up for Blacksite's
Strasser.
I've been after this sort of stuff for a while, because you could also take these guys to Mars.
You could take them to Mars.
And you could fight Martians, or you could fight each other, and you could take that big drill and shout, "Screw you, Ben!"
See, I do have to wonder. There's one guy there with a shotgun. Surely if he fires that in lunar gravity, he's going to pull the trigger and go, whoosh, and go backwards.
Depends whether or not it's an actual shotgun. It might be some sort of air pressure type thing.
That's it.
or set up like a recoilless rifle, so the kickback pushes forward. I mean, they'll have put time and effort into this, and if they haven't, then you just smash their head in with a hammer.
Okay, again, I was just thinking Newton's third law.
Yeah, that's true. The interesting thing as well is that you don't necessarily have to fight things out on the moon surface. You could fight out games inside space stations. You could do it inside large modules on the moon, or you could have it in the back of a shuttlecraft where you're battling each other before like a satellite is deployed or something like that.
Let me just stop you there, extravagant boy. If it's on the lunar surface, that's a grey table with people in creamy white costumes. Or then just a bit of metallic on that visor. That's a really simple thing to paint.
That is really simple and easy.
Yeah, maybe just
start adding in your moon bases.
That's
and then
true.
once you've got your moon base, you've got to paint your Nazis.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
You got to Dameron.
Yeah.
So,
it should be pointed out, if you want to go beyond the starter set, there's loads of other options as well over on the web store. So you can go and pick up additional characters. You can pick up additional expansions for everything. You can get lunar rovers and objective sets and weapon packs and things. Yeah. It's all available.
About it. Show us.
Well, Jerry, if you click on the Lunar link,
teasing us. I want to see these things.
Lloyd is going shopping again on the weekend.
Yes,
it's the only reason he comes into the weekend is to do some shopping.
Well, retail therapy. It's been a long week.
I've been after this range for a long time because I wanted it to fight Martians.
It does look like it could be a lot of fun. It looks like it's going to be low model count, easy to set up, easy to actually make a table for. So definitely something worth having a look at if you want a light, fast game.
If you go to our games and then click on Lunar,
we'd get to the moon quicker than we get here.
Click on the top moon a bit.
Didn't India actually launch a rocket recently that's headed to the moon? I thought I saw that in the news.
Yeah, I think they might have.
Yeah, but there you go. Look, there's all the expansion sets.
Yeah,
they come in little.
You get your buggies.
They come in little lunar food packs as well, which is cool. So,
I love the buggies. Those are really cool.
So you too can play out Ad Astra and that scene where they're driving across the moon shooting each other with guns that my girlfriend doesn't remember, even though she was there watching the movie with me.
That movie's bollocks.
It's not bollocks.
It is. It's bollocks. I watched it all and got to the end and went, what the bollocks was that?
It's a thinky movie, Lloyd.
It's all right. There's a few Korean ones on Netflix that deal with the moon, which are quite good.
Yeah, I've seen those too. Yeah, but yeah, you can get hero packs and all sorts of different things as well. So they've really expanded the range over the last little while and done some really good stuff with it. And as I say, Blacksite do really fun little tiny unique games. Like Don't Look Back is a really good little horror game for you to dive into. Lunar takes you to the moon to play out low gravity combat. They've done another one recently, which is Samurai Monster Hunting, where you play as a band of samurai. Look, like a Leshen.
Wait, did I just see a group of scientists?
Nope.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, loads of good stuff there for Lunar. If you want to go and check out a sci-fi game that is a little bit different from the norm.
You get lots and lots of options there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Impressive.
Yeah.
But the good thing about Hammer is you don't have to worry about reloading. Especially important on the moon where grabbing stuff is difficult because of the pressurization of your suit.
Yeah. Just give it to Henry Cavill because then he can reload his arms and his hammer as he hits you in the face. Yeah, very cool.
And I'll give it to Army Hammer then instead.
maybe not him.
The only reason they deployed those guys to the moon though was to stop the clones coming back.
Of course. Yeah.
Pesky clones making their way back to Earth.
And to stomp out the clangers.
It's most likely Resource Wars. Don't you curse at me and clanger.
All that damn whistling. Right. Moving from a sci-fi world that is kind of like our own to one that is, kind of like our own, but grimdark and horrible. Just like our own. So yeah, this is a new set of Tyranids that were previewed over last weekend from Games Workshop because the Tyranids, the big hive fleet, the swarm, won the battle for Ogram and dominated the planet, eating everything that exists there, killing everybody, all the Space Marines. They're all dead now. They've won.
Yay!
So they have essentially gone through and given the Tyranids a proper range refresh, just like the Necrons got at the start of 9th edition. So we got new miniatures for a whole host of different stuff, including all of the basic line infantry through to some of the more specialist stuff. And there's also some big Gribblies in there as well, as you can see in the video. So
they just look the same to me.
They have been made more dynamic and more detailed. It's subtle, but you can see there is a distinct difference between things.
And we need more spikes and more spikes and more spikes and more spikes.
Some things are taller now.
Something like much taller. Yeah. So we start off
then.
Yeah, so we start off with the Gene Stealers here, which have been made a little bit more dynamic, and they've added lots more detail into the chitin, or the chitin, however you want to say it, on the back of their bodies as well there. And also, of course, these models won't come with the worst mod lines in recorded history.
they've a few of them have also got a facial.
Yes, yeah, you've got lovely alternate heads. You can even give them the big tentacly Ymgal head. So if you want to make them all Cthulhu-y and Lovecraftian, you can do. And there's enough heads in the set for you to do all of them like that, rather than having this sort of typical Gene Stealer head that everybody knows from Space Hulk and stuff as well, which is quite nice. So plenty of rending claws there to kill everybody in sight. But on top of that, they've also done the line infantry. So the Termagants got their update with a push fit set available as part of Leviathan and all the starter sets and things. But you're also going to be able to buy a multi-part plastic set for the Termagants as well, which comes with a variety of different range weapons. So if you remember Tyranids from editions past, they have access to all sorts of weird and wacky bioweapons, as you can see there.
They have heavy weapons now.
They have heavy weapons now. Or they've got them back anyway. So you've got spine fists, devourers, shard launchers, strangle webs, and spike rifles. So you can nail people to the wall with your weird
little tiny Ripper Swarms.
Yes, you've even got Ripper Swarms are back as well, which is good. There's also the Horma Gaunts. I've got an update as well. I've never understood why they don't just call both of them Gaunts. But anyway, the Horma Gaunts there have got a slight update as well. So they've become a little bit more animated in their design, a little bit more detail worked into them as well. So their armor and flesh as well has been sort of tweaked, but essentially still the same batalioned killers that you've come to expect. Get quite a few of those, swarm over objectives, kill everything in sight. And then we move to some of the bigger miniatures as well. So you've got the new updated Lictors. So this is the Neuro Lictor, which is your brain bug style killer. So Lictors still perform the same job that they've always done in the High Fleet. You're going to be infiltrating them into the back lines to kill everything in sight and destroy artillery teams. And so with the Neurolictor, you've got a slightly more psychic-based bug that can go and eliminate people with its mind.
So I think you can't see me, therefore stealth?
It's the bug blatter beast of trial logic. If you can't see it, it can't see you. So
the best way to deal with it.
That bug doesn't look afraid, though. Not at all.
No, very. There's also the traditional Lictor as well. So you see it in the background there, lurking, just like a good Lictor. You'll be able to pick up the traditional version of it to go hunting things, and then you've also got the fancy one with the skin cape. That's also available for everyone to pick up, but that was previewed a couple of weeks ago. We had a look at that one.
Oh, did he have to draw veins on the flipping tail? That's just gross.
They didn't have to, but they did.
Yeah, I don't think that's skin, Ben.
It's a sucky bit. Yeah, but as well as that, we also saw updates for the Tyranid artillery, essentially. So you've got the new look Biovores and Pyrovores. So they've changed from the slightly more gorilla-looking ones.
Ugh. Yeah, I hate to say this, but whoever took this picture, I can barely make it out. There's so much going on around it.
Yes, it is busy. But then I suppose that would be like looking at
the best of it is they photoshopped in all that crap probably behind.
Yes. Probably, yes. Yeah. But you've either got the Biovore, which will fire spore mines into the sky that'll land in the back ranks of your enemy army and sort of blowing up and killing everybody, or you can get the Pyrovore, which will sort of spew forth horrible, nasty, icky liquid, which will render everything down into jelly, so that your High Fleet can consume it and use that lovely, lovely biomass.
We get it. Their guns are juicy.
Have they still got the Hierophant?
Oh, it's the Forge World Biotitan.
Yeah,
they still make that in Forge World then?
I don't know if they still make that.
Because I was laughing with John last night watching his build of it from Midweek.
Oh, God.
And the bit in the middle where he just drops a big F-bomb. He's trying to build
of course he did.
Oh, for sake.
Yeah, I think that was before I was editing for BOW back then. Hashtag not my fault.
We've also got two huge additions to the line. So there's the Norn Emissary and the Norn Assimilator. So for those people who don't know, the Norn Queen, which is like the head honcho of the hive mind, will sometimes have a particular enemy or a outpost or a target that needs to be destroyed. And so instead of sending a sneaky little lictor in, they basically send in the biggest assassin they can find. So a Norn emissary or an assimilator has been designed to effectively be a huge living battering ram that will charge.
And you still be an assassin when everyone can see you coming.
Well, here's the thing, Lloyd. It's still stealth if everybody's dead.
Yeah, that's very true. So we've seen emissaries and assimilators pop up in books in the past, like the Adeptus Custodes have fought against a Norn emissary on Terror and all sorts of different things. Citation needed. But
there's a decent rap of the scale, because is that a Wraith Knight?
So that's a Wraith Lord next to it. So, and a Wraith Lord's like, yay.
Yeah.
So Wraith Lord's about that big.
It's about the size of a Wraith Knight then. Just scale.
I'd say it's probably about up to kind of like the chest of a knight, I would guess.
Somebody really gave up on the painting in the background there. It was just like, a splash of wash on that and be done.
Oh, it's a statue.
It's a statue. Good point.
Yeah.
Narrative excuse for laziness.
So you've got the big emissary and assimilator there for those people that want to run something nasty to smash everything out of the way. I'm no doubt Games Workshop are going to reveal all the rest of the Space Marine stuff in the near future, because I bet they really wanted it to be 50-50 so they could do both.
I hope the guy who painted all that stuff isn't watching this. We just called him lazy. He's like, what the How
very dare you?
Have you any idea how long I spent painting all this?
There's an heavy metal painter somewhere who's crying into their cereal at this particular moment. So, yeah.
I'll just make it more delicious.
But there we go. Some stuff there for the Tyranids if you want to pick those up and dive into an expanded and updated army for 140,000. So yeah, very cool.
Okie dokie. Enough of the news. Mm-hmm. It's time to take a look at some 3D printing. Hello, we are back in time to take a look at some 3D printing. It is very much the coming thing, I'm led to believe.
Yes, Jerry, it has been for many moons.
Home printers didn't get me to print out books. Why should these 3D printer things get me to print out jets?
Well, you'll be very happy
Jerry probably still has a dot matrix.
You'll be very happy to know that this new company that we're going to be looking at, well, not new, but this company that we're going to be looking at fresh here on the Weekender, does both digital STL stuff and will print your miniatures for you. So this one's somewhat inspired by what we were looking at last week as part of a project where someone was 3D printing some planes for use in Blood Red Skies. These are 1/200 scale aircraft. So they came from a company called Rockworks, and I thought we would have an actual look at what they produce so that we can go through their stuff. So their main focus is essentially 1/200 scale aircraft for use in games like Blood Red Skies, not Saga. I didn't say Saga there.
They have a Kitty Hawk.
So they've done loads of interesting digital and printed miniatures for you to pick up that cross all sorts of different nations that were fighting during the time. So you've got British stuff, you've got German stuff, you've got the Italians, you've got the Soviets, you've got the Japanese, there's the French, there's the Polish Air Force as well in there, which is quite nice.
Polish Air Force.
The Polish Air Force, yes, they actually have them.
Wait.
I'll just go there now, shall I, Lloyd?
So I know the one plane I want them to make.
Yeah.
The finest piece of flying furniture ever made by Britain.
Yeah. So if you want to fly with some of the best pilots in World War II, I would say that's the fact. You got some really nice options there with the miniatures and stuff that they've been working on. One of the things that's quite nice about this is that obviously not only are they trying to provide you with some alternatives to what it already exists from the folks at Warlord, but they're also doing lots of things that maybe fill in gaps and kind of give people access to a lot of those aircraft that maybe they have like, I really like that one because I read about it in a book. Well, it's probably here as part of this collection because they have a huge amount of different options for you to choose from. And also, I would guess for the most part, these are some of the easiest things to print I would imagine. They're all just big, lovely one-piece things, really. You just get them printed and away you go. So, yeah.
I mean, depending on how delicate some of the components are, because, I mean, some of the tail fins and stuff look very, very fine. Yeah. And if you orientate it on the bed wrong, could go very wrong.
Well, it was quite interesting because we actually saw some of the physical pieces that were shown off in last week's XLBS, and they actually looked like they came out quite nicely, which was really good.
Oh,
so,
fair enough.
Even if you are printing away at these and you're a little bit worried, hopefully it wouldn't be too bad to get some tweak settings and stuff in there. Mm-hmm. There is actually a thing at the bottom which is a helpful print guide, so it's got print settings, so you can actually follow that through, and it'll give you ideas for what you might want to do with your it's a little, just at the bottom of that menu.
Scroll back up.
These look great, but I have a problem with them.
What's your problem?
They're flipping landing gear. I need landing gear because I want to print these out and stick them on my train layout instead.
No.
That makes sense.
Why don't you just leave some of the supports on the bottom of the plane, and then there you've got your undercarriage.
That one comes with a free bomb.
It does come with a free bomb.
Free high explosive love.
There's also a really nice little section on that list to the left, which is prototype stuff and things that was done in 1946. So it's kind of planes that never really made it into sort of circulation, which is
paper
really cool.
Panzers on planes.
Paper protos.
Yeah. So if you're looking to,
that is so difficult to fly.
What the hell did they do to that Hankel?
Who cares? Look at that. Look at that uni-wing jet fighter.
Oh, did they do a Gargant?
Oh, I don't know. So if you're planning to do stuff that is very sort of what if, then you've got some options there, which is quite nice. So you've got lots of sort of weird prototype jet stuff and everything in there, which is quite nice to see. And always good for those kind of people that want to take things to the next level and play out different campaigns and stuff like that. So it's basically a backwards plane.
What's going on with that?
And flipping Star Wars?
No, it's very Sky Captain in the world of tomorrow.
Yes, it is, yeah. But yeah, it's a vast selection of aircraft that you can, as I say, get either as STL files or you can get them printed, which is always good. And obviously the nice thing about getting 3D printable files for this kind of stuff is that you can print endless amounts of them. So if you want to get yourself full-on squadrons of things,
then I've got it. So. I'll just have crashed airplanes all over my layout.
There we go.
Yeah,
no landing gear
I've gone and found the thing from Miniature Brushwork, and look, Lloyd, look what's on the bottom.
Oh, they do have landing gear.
They come with landing gear.
Flipping heck.
Also, Lloyd, just going to say, if you were going to do a crashed one, it kind of would have to be accordioned.
I don't know about that.
Just take.
I've seen some crashes, and it's just like the engine gets spat out the back.
Just stick it in a lump of mud. Be done with it.
What else is in here? Because there's some weird and wacky stuff.
Very cool stuff in there. I love that it covers so many different air forces as well. Because one of the things that I think is really nice about games like this, like Blood Red Skies and World War II,
backwards plane had to be Japanese.
Yeah, is that you get, obviously people are drawn in by playing around with things like Spitfires and Hurricanes and Lancaster bombers and everything else in between. But then you go, but what did X have for this? And then you go and look at what the Japanese were playing around with or what the Polish were flying during the time and everything like that. I mean, who would have thought you'd been getting lovely little seaplanes for the Imperial Japanese? I mean, obviously it's the Navy and stuff, but yeah. So
they did have some crazy ideas for their aircraft back in the day. They actually had like launch ramps off battleships for scout planes.
Yeah, Italian biplanes.
I like that. Yeah.
You have to remember it was what 20, 30 years max from the first powered flight, so they were still very much experimenting with what worked.
Yeah,
and figuring out how to use them in combat.
Yeah, not just dropping bricks on people's heads from above.
Well, we figured that out pretty quick, didn't we?
We're good at that. I have explosive. I'm flying over this person. I drop the explosive. That person is gone. Sweet.
Flechettes. They used a lot of flechettes in World War One. So,
yeah,
it was good. There's a lot in there, but obviously talking about it from the aspect of Blood Red Skies, but there's a ton of other interesting aircraft-based games out there. Things like Blue Max was always a very popular one, which had hidden navigation in it.
Jerry.
A little bit like what you call it, like X-Wing, but good. Where you're not just having like a little dial. You set your elevation, your speed, and your direction. Then everybody reveals them, and then all the movement gets done simultaneously. And Blue Max had a wealth of different planes in it that were available. Presumably, it's still going. So there's opportunities to use these, even in dogfights and areas where it possibly isn't covered by some of the modern games.
Well, Jerry, if you want it, you could maybe use some of these to upgrade your games of Undaunted, Battle of Britain.
Mm.
Yeah,
I think that could look very cool.
You could use them for Wings, though, couldn't you?
Yes,
probably. Isn't there a game? There's a game called Wings. I didn't
Wings
just imagine.
Of Glory.
Yeah, Wings of Glory.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, a lot going on with that.
So, I mean, what's quite that? I mean, if you go to any of the pages for any of the significant nations, if you know what I mean, so like the Brits, the Americans or whatever, there are like 6-7 pages worth of stuff, and then there you go. That's some interesting stuff about printing. So
use a photon file validator.
So they're using an Anycubic photon for their stuff.
What am I buying here? Am I buying the printed version of the STL?
You can buy whatever you want. There's the printed. Yeah. The printed come in flights, singles, or squadrons, depending. Or you can just go in and buy the actual STLs.
Yeah.
So when you go into let's go for Soviets. When you go into a Soviet page, you have both the resin prints and then generally the actual STL afterwards, or the GIF. Sorry.
That's it, the GIF file.
Yeah, I'm never going to get the pronunciation right, am I?
So whichever flavor of, STL file you want, you've got it.
Let me see the Polish stuff again. It went past real quick.
It's there for ages.
This will all be early war then. No. Oh
well.
Oh, Spitfires.
It will be the Polish pilots that came through with us.
So the early war stuff will be their own, and then later on you'll
have all your Lend-Lease.
So the 4 at the top then is the early war.
Yeah, I imagine so.
The Lost, the Karas, and stuff. Yeah,
the Karas looks kind of interesting.
Yeah, and then you got the Spitfires there as well.
You're all ignoring me.
Can we ambigulate one of them?
I can try, but it'll have to be by the medium of this.
Oh, that's about as big as it gets.
Oh, and then it starts shrinking again. 150 is your favorite.
Yep, there's the landing gear. Swish.
Yeah.
No, it's definitely a cool idea that they're doing both, so that if you are like Jerry and just want the actual thingy thing, they will send you the thingy thing. I
don't want to deal with
and if you want the digitally digital, you can get that.
These are 1/200, but you could definitely print these at 1/100.
Oh yeah, you could up the scale definitely
for sure. Because the thing about the Flames of War planes is they're not actually to scale.
No, they're
now you could print ones.
The Flames of War stuff, I think, is actually like 160 or 1/200 themselves. So they work on a smaller scale for things, but then that's
an
because
abstraction.
They're very high.
But what you want to do is print them much bigger.
But you need a bit bigger; they're closer to your face.
And put them on a big long stand, so you get that whole forced perspective thing. That's what you want to be doing.
Or just hang a sheet of perspex over the top of your table, so you can just set them on and not have to do flight stands at all.
I mean, what we do know is that Flames of War is just an abstraction of war anyway, because there's no infantry in that game anymore. Jeez, I mean, God.
Do they have that? Do they have that plane that Indy has the boxing match in front of? And then the guy gets killed by the big whirly propeller.
I think that was just a Henkel.
Henkel, maybe. Yeah.
Probably. Again, it's Indiana Jones. It's something German, guaranteed. Something German.
Well, not always. Sometimes they made stuff up like that tank they made up.
Oh God! Oh no! Oh God!
The Land Raider.
I forgot about that thing. Why the Nazi death tank?
Because they needed something that had tracks all the way around for the action scene to happen. Otherwise, the movie would have stopped when he fell on top of the covered tracks and didn't move. Wouldn't have been as much fun.
Indy's dead.
Indy's
oh God, they're doing another one, aren't they?
It's done. It's out.
It's out.
Oh, it's out. Oh God!
Yeah,
and it's the final one. Thank God.
I don't know if I should or shouldn't. Is
spoilers
in it?
Spoilers. Close your ears. You don't want spoilers. There's Romans in it.
I was half second too slow. Thanks, boys.
How many times did I shout spoilers?
Are they in the Aquila? Are they flying around in like a? No.
I don't know.
I'm saying nothing because I know where they are.
Anyway, so yes,
but it
turns into. I will just say this: if you want a serious Indiana Jones movie, you're not looking for Indiana Jones then, because I don't think it's ever been serious.
No,
but the Dial of Destiny turned Schlock up to 180.
Oh God!
Just saying.
Did you win one of our prizes? Find out on our prize claim center over at OnTableTop.com. Here we list all our previous prizes and those who have won. If you see your username, fill out the form to claim your prize. All prizes must be claimed within 30 days.
And speaking of Schlock, we have a couple of Kickstarters to finish off the show, and the first of which is Schlock.
Yeah,
the bestest way.
Oh God, so I'm sorry, this one is not for me. I'm out.
So this is Star Schlock, the battle game, which is a set of miniatures, but also skirmish rules for playing out 28mm sci-fi war games inspired by the movies and TV shows that you would have expected to be seeing on television during the 70s and the 80s.
Oh, also, I would go one step further there. I'm going to go 50s.
Yes.
50s, 60s, 70s, 80s.
Yeah, everything basically, yeah. So this is a game which can be played with as few as 6 figures or as many as 30. It can be played with just 2 players if you want to, especially if you're diving into the start set. But they've also said that the game scales up to be played with as many as 6 people at a tabletop, and it all still runs really quickly as well, which is really cool. The game is driven by a card-based initiative system. So individual characters have cards, and they can use those to sort of activate and stuff. But you can also spend cards to remove an activation in order to go before somebody else. So if you wanted to get the drop on somebody with your captain, then you could do, but you don't need to have one action to do it. So it's kind of like pushing your luck, which I think is really nice. All of the combat is done using really simple symbol-based dice. So they've got like little ticks and shields on them. So it's really easy to kind of just work out exactly whether or not you've hit or you've missed or anything like that. There's no kind of weird adding things up and modifiers and all that kind of stuff. The actual set comes with a bunch of 28mm metal miniatures. So you get the Explorer Court, which is your kind of classic Federation-style adventures.
Yeah,
Captain Kurt. Yeah.
Trekking across the stars.
And most importantly, you'll see that all of them have little fancy skirts on, because that's what it was like at the start of Next Gen. So
I'm sorry.
Not even the start of Next Gen. That's what it was like for original series. Only true, the original. Only classic.
Too cheesy.
Star Trek nurses.
And they are also going up against the space apes of the Galactic Simian Kingdom. So you've got a proper, awesome, cool, retro, nostalgia style alien force for you to be fighting on the tabletop at the same time. But that's not all. As the Kickstarter has been going great guns throughout its run. There's about 11 days left on the campaign at the moment, but they have unlocked loads of additional packs of characters.
Look how majestic they are.
So cool. So very cool. So you've got Guerrilla Grunts, you've got the Coalition Guard, you've got the Colonial Shock Troops, you've got so many miniatures that you will immediately recognize. I remember that show.
Yes.
I like these beef heads.
Yeah.
I can't remember what they're from, but I know I've seen them.
Yeah.
With the big visors. And then way down the bottom, you'll be coming across Colonel Deering and Buck Rogers. And I was just like, that's just amazing. I need those in my life. Look,
Sleazoid Marauders, the Necronauts. Oh, it's so good.
It's Viper Legion.
Yeah. To be led by a Cobra Commander, perhaps. So. But
Robbie the Robot.
I was looking through.
Is that Dr. Zayas?
Yes.
Yes.
Do. So I was looking through
Robot Monster.
Yeah. I was looking through the Kickstarter pages and I was like, oh, this looks kind of cool. And then I watched the trailer. My God. Obviously, you can't hear it, but you need to go and watch the trailer.
Watch the trailer.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Do that now. Pause us. Watch the trailer. Come back to us.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Save yourselves. Save yourselves.
Don't listen to him. He likes 40k. Ignore him. Listen to us. Look, there they are. There. Look, there's Buck Rogers. Colonel Deering. Yeah. They're just missing a tiny little tweaky. Beep.
But yeah, it's been designed so that it can be played on as small as a 3x3 playing space if you're going to be playing with just 6 models, so 3 per side, or if you're going up to playing 6-player games, you can dive into playing on a 4x6 table. There's a full rundown of the rules, a preview of the rules anyway, to sort of get you started over on the Kickstarter page where you learn about fighting and stuff. It's all done very in-world, which I love.
Apes.
Yeah. Yo, damn dirty apes. So you can dive in and have fun with that. It's got a fun breakdown of how the rules work. I love The fired tokens and little lasers.
It's either pew pew or zap, depending. So you know who's shooting. It's great.
It's so good.
I wonder, is there a difference between a pew pew and a zap? I wonder in the rules.
Oh, probably.
It's how much you want it. Yeah.
But how much of my battery have I spent on this shot?
Yeah. But then I love how you've got this really simple attack thing where it's just you've succeeded or you've blocked. You just roll a number of dice depending on it, and where you go. And you can use cards to give you special abilities and all sorts of different
Pour
things.
space on dead as a special effect.
Of course, yeah. I love that I love to think that maybe it's just you summon a Necronaut.
This is bollocks time because I think I need this in my life.
It's funny you say that, Lloyd, right? Because I was looking now. The top pledge is $1,000. I'm not doing that.
What? The top pledge is $1,000?
Oh, yeah. It's probably like a retailer pledge or something. I don't know. But there's a very achievable one, about £300, which will get me 5 packs plus 5 liters, which I think is surplus to requirements for every, but it means pretty much it's everything. If we need like 6 to 30 aside, like we're covered right there. I'm just saying, Lloyd.
So hang on. Are you asking Lloyd to split the Kickstarter with you, or is it all for Jerry? No, it's all for Jerry. All for Jerry. All for Jerry all the time. Got it.
Although I will say, if you fancy playing it, Lloyd, we could do this thing. We could definitely do this thing.
And my marriage was saved.
And I don't want to edit this video.
I mean, why would you not? Where's the pledge? I haven't done it yet because I'm looking at it going, do I drop it all now, or do I drop $1 on it and wait for the pledge manager? There's £290, a train mat plus all the deluxe add-ons, 5 liters and 5 warrior figure packs. I mean, that covers quite a lot of them.
Well, because it's essentially giving you that many warbands or crews to play with.
Yeah, but the problem is which warbands?
Well, yeah, because I mean,
there's
no way I'm not getting Buck Rogers. I had a Buck Rogers outfit when I was a kid. Buck Rogers was amazing. It was great. And then Star Trek, I suppose, and the apes are no brainers.
I mean, you got to have
it may have to go up a bit higher.
What about Robbie?
Well, he's part of the Explorer faction, so I think he's standard in the battle starter set comes, because those packs are addition to the starter set, which has the apes and the Explorer core in it.
Okay.
Yeah, just need to tack in some extras. See,
I think I like the beef heads the best.
Jerry requires research time.
No, they're up. You go up for beef heads.
Which one did you like? Sorry,
I like the beef head. Scroll back up.
What is a beef head?
Beef head.
Them with the big bug eyes and the weird ears.
What is a beef head?
They're proper tribesmen.
Proper old school B-movie big rubber head people. That's what they are. Somebody in the comments will tell us what film they're from, per se, but
you're just waiting for the, well, actually.
Yep. No, I don't want
those guys look like Doomcock.
Yes.
What?
He's a great channel on the YouTubes. Harvey Cthulhu will break free someday and kill everyone.
I don't know if I need to beat what I just said or not. I'm confused.
No, it's a name. It can stay.
I like the Coalition.
Okay,
Coalition Guard looked like the guy from the android race from the Orville.
Yeah,
maybe
the little round eyes and the
mixed with the Rocketeer helmet.
Really need to rewatch that.
Yeah, the little colonial shock troops as well. Oh, it's so good.
This is magnificent and will be in no way, shape, or form featuring heavily in my life later on.
I'm out. Sorry, boys, I'm out.
There is 11 days left on the Star Schlock.
But do you know what's great with that is it could work well as a crossover with those other astronauts that we'd seen as well.
Yes, for Lunar. Yeah. Your poor 1960s astronauts land on the moon and they think they're having to deal with cosmonauts who have kicked over their moon base, and then they arrive there and it's beef heads.
Beef heads with their wiggly ear things.
Then you have to deal with the beef heads.
You're like, I got licked by a beef head.
Put us up in a carvery, will you?
Yeah. That's the one. Right. Yes.
I don't know why they're called beef heads. They look a bit more like calamari to me.
You never certain until you paint them.
I thought their heads looked more like a mince pie.
What mince pies are you eating?
Yeah, I wouldn't know. Back away from that one. 11 days left for Star Schlock. And we have a final Kickstarter before we end the show.
So we're finishing things off with Flying Frog Productions, who are returning to the awesome world of Shadows of Brimstone, which we have talked about in the past. They do amazing, really fun, pulpy adventure, dungeon delving style games. we've talked about some of their projects in the past. We've talked about some things they're doing with like Vikings and Nordic stuff, which is very cool. But this latest one brings 2 new core sets to Kickstarter. So you've got the Lost Tombs of Khamuntet, and also the last train, well, the impossible Hell Train, which is the last train to Brimstone.
Hell Train!
It's trains, but they're going to hell, just like Laurie. No.
This
Hellfire!
This is one of the old guard. I remember us talking about this years and years and years ago.
Yeah, so these are 2 core sets which are fully compatible with everything that exists currently within the world of Shadows of Brimstone. You get loads of new heroes across both sets, so you get 8 in total, 4 in each pack.
Do we get the soundtrack?
You've also got, well, maybe you've also got all of the awesome miniatures you can see there as well, all of which are made in HIPS plastic, so they're nice and good to work with. I've actually picked up some of their.
Look, they got it right. Look. Cowboys have to have trains.
There we go. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Correct. But that train's on fire. Is that okay, Lloyd, or is that bad?
It's because it's just so metal. But I've picked up some of their stuff in the past, back when we went to Gen Con, well, many years ago now, but played around with some of their stuff. And it was really, really cool, really nice to paint and everything and have fun with. The first of the campaigns, the Lost Tomb of Khamuntet, will have you playing as a soldier of fortune, the archaeologist, the professor, and the mechanic as you delve into a lost tomb. Who would have thought it, in Egypt, as you look to try and deal with an Egyptian sorcerer who has risen up their followers using dark magic. Oh, look how cool they are.
Is it in Egypt though, or is it that Egyptian tomb that's actually in the I was going to say the Giant's Causeway. What's the Grand Canyon? That's it, that you're not allowed to visit.
Oh, right. No. What? This is most definitely classic Egyptian.
There's an Egyptian base in the Grand Canyon, but it's all cordoned off by the US military and you're not allowed in. So the conspiracy theory goes.
Aliens, man.
Nah.
But the Lost Tombs of Khamuntet brings in a new trap game mechanic. So you'll be able to deal with fighting against traps and avoiding them, as well as dealing with the enemies, which I think is quite cool. And again, loads of awesome miniatures within this set for you to be using as part of this. All the same combat mechanics that you've come to know and love from previous Shadows of Brimstone games have been carried over into this. So it's got a really nice dice-based system, which is very simple and easy to learn. But then obviously you can upgrade and change your characters between missions in the campaign, so you can take them in different directions and have fun with them and upgrade certain stats and everything as well, which is always good to see. The second of the campaigns, which is the Impossible Hell Train, takes you back to Brimstone aboard, as you might have imagined, a hell train.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Where you're going to be riding the railroads.
It's a hell train.
We don't need tracks.
Don't need tracks where we're going. Which will be having you ride through the corrupted Southwest. In this set, you're going to get the bounty hunter, the cavalry officer, the reporter, and the rail worker, which is pretty cool. And then again, a whole host of amazing new miniatures to go alongside
that. I'm sorry. The little dude in the middle is just having his best day ever.
Yes, he really is. Yeah. So, as you might have guessed from some of the images here, you're going to be aboard that particular hell train.
It's a real witness to me moment.
Yes, very much so. And you're going to be having to take on the undead, which are the soulless that you see there. Train robbers who are trying to get on board your train and steal all of the things that you have, and dealing things like the hellborn engineer and the grotesque and everything else in between.
Rails again. How do you get on the train though? Is it like train? Is there like
and then it all goes wrong, I imagine.
But is there like tiles to play on that are a train or what?
Yeah, well, so you'll have tiles to play on that will be representing the train that you'll be fighting through, which is really cool. So you'll have all the
model of the train.
I don't think there's a model of the train, but although you can have a look.
There's the train.
There you go. There's the train carriages. Boom. There you go. So it's
there is a train monster though.
So you could make a model of a train.
You could make one
if you really want to, Lloyd. If you really, really want to,
and you could have it going around on a train track as you played the game. That would be
just go watch Rick and Morty.
Yeah. But yeah, so loads of awesome characters for you to pick up and play with. I'd say all the plastic miniatures in there for both of those adventures. Lots of depth for both of these campaigns for you to dive into. Essentially, either one of these could be months, if not years of your life. But on top of that, they've also got a whole bunch of Kickstarter exclusives as well over on the campaign page. So you can get 2 heroes, technically more than that, but you can get 2 heroes. So you got the new Treasure Hunter and the Brimstone Ranger, which are additional hero packs. One is sort of themed towards Egypt and the other one's themed towards the Immortal Hell Train.
Do you know which one's which?
The Impossible Hell Train. But you could switch them around if you wanted to, and use them in different games if you wanted to, which is quite nice. There's also this set, which is kind of a hero expansion, but not really. So this is called the Crimson Hand Enclave expansion set, and this lets you play as the Crimson Hand cult. So you actually are playing as anti-heroes. So
what are they called? What's the hand cult? Do they like do weird symbols with their hands, or what's the
they probably
crack?
just walk around going,
most likely they stab you and then plant their hand on it.
Yeah,
they'll have caught people red-handed. Yeah,
because that guy's hand doesn't even look like it's connected to his body. It looks like somebody else has reached in.
It might be, yeah. So there's 4 additional classes in that box, which represent different members of the cult. There's also a mini campaign in that box that you can play through as long as you've got all the additional stuff for the game, which is really nice. So you can essentially have them going around, and instead of trying to secure relics and all sorts of different things in order to save the world, they are doing it to further the themes and what the Crimson Hand want to do with their campaigns and stuff. So it's a really nice way to sort of take your games of Shadows of Brimstone in a different direction, which is really cool. There's also, as you can see here, as Jerry's showing, loads of stretch goals that have been unlocked. They've been smashed down for both the Lost Tombs of Khamuntet and also the Impossible Hell Train. One of the nice things that I really like in this is that you've got alternative sculpts for all the heroes.
Yeah, you've got hero gender swaps.
Yeah, so if you want to play male or female for both of them, you're going to get those unlocked as part of the campaign. You've got additional enemies. You've got loads more cards and artifacts and everything else in between, big monsters and everything else there too. As you can see, they have more than easily smashed through their goals.
Yeah, they've crushed it.
Well, isn't this nice? In this episode, we've had straight up cowboys, and now we got pulpy cowboys.
Now we've got pulpy cowboys.
I would kind of be up for this one.
Yeah, I think it looks really cool. And
question, Ben, the 2 sets for this Kickstarter, can they be played standalone?
Yeah. So
Okay,
they're individual core sets that you can just play as they are. You don't have to have anything else. You can either pick up one or both and enjoy them, or you can.
The Hell Train is tempting me very much.
Or you can go down the route of just throwing them in with some of the older heroes from previous versions of the game as well, which is really cool. So
I don't have those.
Yeah. So yeah, you could just dive in this one. Dive in on this one fresh and just pick it up. Look at the exclusives! Oh my god, we're so good.
That's the train monster.
Yeah.
what looks to be a very, very big, hefty flamer.
Yeah,
they should really have had a Thomas edition.
That is the Hellborn engineer that you see as part of the Impossible Hell Train set, which is very awesome.
Do you like that train man monster?
Yeah.
Hellborn engineer. How the hell is he going to fit in the engine? He's giant.
He is the engine.
He merges with it.
He just
Hi, Lloyd. He's secretly a transformer.
No more transformer trains. They're shite.
And we'll end on that.
There are 6 days left if you want to get involved with Flying Frogs, Hell Train, and the Lost Tombs of Khamuntet. And yes, massively funded. Or don't forget Schlock. So I don't want you to get distracted by the trains. Schlock.
Like cowboys and trains and demons.
Well, it's okay, because Justin's going to back Shadows of Brimstone, and you guys are going to back Schlock.
It's fine.
So.
No, I'm too busy with Lunar.
Yeah, I'll take on the Schlock. Don't worry about it.
There we go.
Right. That wraps us up for another week. We shall return next Friday, but if that's too far away, join us on Sunday morning over on tabletop.com for the Cult of Games XLBS.
Swing!
Ooh. Look, we're everywhere. Don't forget, if you want to win those Infinity Code 1 starter sets, you need to comment on the Infinity videos, not this one. And I know I will already be seeing people going, here's the comment.
I'd like to win. I'd like to win.
But you won't.
No.
Not this week. Go elsewhere. Right. We will see you soon. Until then, have a great week of gaming. Bye-bye.
Go ahead and check out our other content on screen now. And while you're at it, why not hit subscribe and remember to ding our dong. Go on, you know you want to click it. Go on.